You too. I love you both. Good work. I would like to thank everyone for the honesty and courage that was exhibited in workshop today. This is a stellar program. It's an amazing program, and I learned just as much from you as I supposedly brought to the table. So I would thank you for that. It's good. Every time I come back to Minneapolis, it's like I have more people I need to see. It's such a friendly, insanely smart town. I'm really happy. My friends that are here, Jonathan and Deshawn and everybody and Sean, and it's so good to see Kari's here. Kari. Hi, Kari. Uh, it's so good to see everyone, and I'm thrilled to be here. Wow, I was sitting there and I was just kind of going, this, that, no, the other. I'm going to read a couple of poems from a new manuscript. That's about 67 minutes from being finished. When I was growing up, one of the things that was in the household was the picture of Emmett Till in his open casket torn from Jet magazine. And it stayed in the house in case your parents needed it. And they kept it in their wallets or on the mantle or something, and that's what this is about. That child Emmett in that casket. Jet magazine, September 15th, 1955. Sometimes the page was tacked with a pearl hat pin, tilted to plaster, or jammed in a wooden frame with a smirking Jesus. In some houses, its place was on the shadow box, propped up with its one ripped edge, or placed curl-cornered on the coffee table, smudged and worn sheer with the pass-around. In the kitchen, it was blurry with stew smoke or pot liquor blotched until somebody thought enough to scotch tape it to the humming fridge, and the boy who couldn't stare kept staring. Mamas folded and folded, then wedged it into their plastic flowered change purses, and daddies eased it into battered wallets right next to the thought of cash. And at least once a week, usually on Sunday after service, or when you decided you didn't have to speak proper to the white ladies who answered the phones at your daddy's job, or whenever, as Mama said, you decided to show your ass by sassing or back-talking, the page would be pulled down, pulled out, unfolded, smoothed out, and you'd have to look. Look. And you'd have to keep looking while Daddy coughed, "You got to act right round white folks," and shook his head, mumbling, "They killed that child more than one time." And Mama hissed, "See what happened if you don't be careful?" And as far as you could tell, she meant you'd be a mud child, stupidly suited, your skin skidding and worshipped. She meant your right eye would be reborn in the cave of your mouth. "Look!" she demanded, and you did. But then you remembered that there weren't any pictures of you in the house, pinned to the wall or snuggled up with the Lord. No you primed for Sunday stage in Mama's coin purse or Daddy's dusty wallet. You'd searched, woe, a rising river in your chest, but there were no pictures of you anywhere. Moral that you weren't, alive as you were. I wrote this when we were talking, I was looking at coverage of riots and the whole idea of burning down your neighborhoods. Incendiary art. The city's streets are densely shelled with rows of packaged hair and salt. And, mangling the air, the funk of want and function comes to blows with any smell that isn't oil. The blare of storefront chicken settles on the skin, and mango spritzing drips from razored hair. The restaurant man throws rancid pork right in the sitting grease that's glopped with flies and dust, then promises a feast. The rampant din is all about the brother who just cussed his woman, all about the woman's hiss and swerve. It's all about the gust of oily wind, the absolutely stupid hiss of skillets. Throw some flesh into the mix and snort the smoke. There's no way to dismiss the thing men do to boulevards, the wicks their bodies be. A city strapped for art will always torch its men. At first for kicks, to waltz to whirling sparks, but then its heart will shrivel, weakened by the teeth of heat. Outlined in chalk, men blacken and blaze apart. Decidedly, their fume is bittersweet, although the shifting in the air may fool us into thinking they weren't meant as meat. The men don't burn their cities as a rule, born as they are, up to their necks in fuel. Let's see. Incendiary Art, 16th Street Church, Birmingham, 1963. Baby girls burn. Baby girls blow and burn, skin curls, hiccups. Baby girls boom and burn, the Lord hangs pretty and hopeless. Boom. Hymns blacken while brown baby girls pucker and leak. Browning blood muddles naps and ripens the faint lace. Baby girl bodies mutter in the direction of palms nailed shut. Brown baby girl bodies gap wide and smoke. Okay. Ooh. To figure out. Not there, not there. Okay. Okay. You know the Pick Your Own Adventure books? You know, it's like you read up to a certain point. It says, if you want this to happen, turn to page 47. If you want this to happen. So each book has two endings, and you just kind of find the ending by yourself. So these are Emmett Till, Pick Your Own Adventure. Emmett Till was murdered after he allegedly whistled at a white woman, Carolyn Bryant. She also claimed that he showed her a picture of a white girlfriend he had back in his hometown of Chicago. The photo, which Emmett's mother insists came with the wallet, was said to have been of movie star Hedy Lamarr. Turn to page 61 if Hedy Lamarr was actually Emmett's girlfriend. His paltry age was never my concern. I wrapped my pouting smoke around his heft and squeezed. The aim of our illicit burn was sin. My purpose was the blatant theft of everything that rendered him a child. In shadowed rooms, my famous tongue was all the blessing he could stand. I drove him wild. I sucked him dry, my pudgy butterball. Beneath my writhing sway, his color drained and dripped its lazy drip onto the floor till every surface of our tryst was stained. I waved his boyish body to the door. His mama simply had to send him south. My rampant crime, my little blabbermouth. Emmett Till, Pick Your Own Adventure. Turn to page 72 if Emmett's body was never found. Our porky grinner, just another child who ambled into mist, no trip or trace, no signs that he was hunted or reviled before he turned into a jagged space that wasn't there, then was. Nobody saw a city boy whose swagger marked him first as clueless, then as fool. Into the maw of Mississippi at its very worst, he disappeared without a single sound, no screech or mannish cry, wounded giggle or whistle. Mama Mamie counted down to 0, grasped the hands of passers-by. The white ones muttered, "Girl, leave us alone." The Negroes said, "You should have left him home." Never print your things out in a hotel. Okay, I think I'm ready for this. All right. 2 more, actually. So I watch a lot of bad television. And actually, I was in Seattle, and they had me do this thing. It was supposedly called um, leading ladies, strong leading ladies. So you're supposed to look at television and movies and books and pick out and write. So we had to write our whole set over from scratch. It's like, we want you to write about strong ladies. So I'm looking at, where is it, what I'm going to write about. And you guys watch Tom and Jerry? Okay, so if you watch Tom and Jerry long enough, you will see a black woman's legs. Okay, and she's got little house shoes on, and she's, and every once in a while you'll hear her voice. So I said, there's my lady. I like her. I want to know who she is. And she's got a website with every instance of the appearance of her legs on this website, right? And so, and her name is, now it's not like, Megan or Susie. Of course it's not. Her name is Mammy Two Shoes. So I was pissed off right away. And then my husband, I can hear my husband's voice going, don't do the angry black woman poem. But it's not, I'm not angry at, I'm not mad at y'all. Okay, I'm mad at these people. So that's, okay, so that's, well, I'm not mad at y'all, really. You did nothing. So this is, and Tom was her cat. So the family gave her this cat to keep her quiet or keep her entertained or something. So Tom was hers. So Mammy Two Shoes, rightful owner of Tom, addresses the lady of the house. I am charming double negative, an overwrought belly of dirty window. I carry the syrupy burden of your love in my yawning breeches of body. When I laugh, a sound riding like knotted oil on every breath I draw, I spread my lips wide so you can see that my canines are obediently filed flat. My bite, without an evident engine, is of no threat to you, no matter how much I'm drawn to the lily-spiced bouquet of your throat. I stammer, spurt spittle, and rewind, coaxing submerged venom past what I'm sure you have forgotten is an African tongue. I have mastered the Google eye, managed vex and fluster when confronted with your dry idioms and peaked nouns. See how I throw my chubby buttered hands up in defeat, awaiting your bemused but kind correction? If I expect my wooden bed beside the porch and the slithery scraps you barely remember not to throw away, then you expect this of me. I am your beloved other, a sexless stovetop stinking of cinnamon, but I am impossibly unlit, such black whale that once the sun sinks, my voice rides the air alone, so black that you've considered bolting my ghost to the floor of the kitchen so that you can find me in the morning. I'm only simple-minded on cue. I have stood in the wet dark of the pantry, weeping, twisting the blaring light from my fist to keep from striking you. I have plunged chunks of bread into warm bacon grease and crammed my mouth away from exploding. You need to believe that yes is the all of my language, that I am conjured of comic bulbous gaze and the head droop, forever on the verge of a grand gospel weep. I want you to believe that I believe that a merciful God laid me at your feet. There are days I feel heart from my knees to the tile, calves thick like the trunks of trees, kissed by the scalloped hem of a daisied apron. My chapped heels overflow my shoes. Thank you, Jesus. I never have to lift my feet from this floor. It's best as if I walk as if I'm being dragged, which is so, so much easier on the soul. Did I remember to bless you for blessing me, missus, with that tomcat, skanked and feral, flea-bitten, steady out of his head with motivation and mange? Did I ever thank you for pushing a cat into the space where any other woman's own child would be? You gave me a look down, a relationship with the floor, permission to wag a flabby finger at something, a little push-pull, oh no you didn't, kingdom to rule, an official reason to flap my gums and call on Jesus for help. I say, Tom, using that icebox, you better start praying. I say, Lord, Thomas, is that a mouse? And just like that, I'm up on a chair, all a jiggle, a chair bound to collapse under my overload, my eyes wide like they've been slapped from behind. In 20 years, you've given me pussy and vermin, the same way you gave me your children, your squirming, babbling, corn silk-crowned boys, who started their lives by scarring my breast with their blunt new teeth, who have mounted my body and ridden every tired surface that would hold them. Their fingers gloppy with jelly and snot, they have pried beneath my head rag for the mystery of my hair. They have scraped my forearm and cheek raw, and looked for black to be that something alive beneath their fingernails. And yes, they've slowly gone stupid with the sugar, lard, and mouse droppings I shovel into their bowls, then into their mouths. And I smile. I slip a razor into the space between my teeth and the wet wall of my cheek, and I smile. At night, after I have thanked God for the each of you, I never sleep. A soldier, I shamble along the floorboards, the cat licking my heels, that damned mouse skittering blue notes beneath the stove. When I tire, I'm careful not to swallow. I stand outside your door, listening to the capture and unlatch of your breath. I move the blade to my resting tongue. Again, I moan, yes. And God says, don't. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, Annette Smith. All right, and this last piece. I'm so glad you're here, Annette. This is like... See, you know how much I think you're in New York? When I was thanking, Minneapolis friends, I didn't mention you. You need to just move to... Oh, I'm not trying to take them away. I'm sorry. Don't attack me, Jesus. You're right. I'll talk to you later. Oh, okay. One of the things, and I don't think I've mentioned this during the day today, but it is one of the things that comes up in a lot of workshops, is that when you are looking for things to write, you look for the voice you're not hearing, which is where, maybe Two Shoes came from. I mean, the poems come from very simple places, and you go, hey, I saw that woman for years, and I'm a writer, why didn't I, it's because you're not looking in the right place. So when I think about the young men who are losing their lives at the hands of the police, mostly unarmed black men, I think, what am I not hearing? And the voice I'm not hearing is the voice of the mother. And that's where this poem came from. And this is the last piece I'm going to do. I don't expect you'll recognize my voice. I don't expect this saga I've suppressed, this tale will sound familiar. I am just a stooped and accidental saint, no choice except to burst the borders of my throat. I am the flailing eye beneath the fold, the paragraph you skip, the twinkling gold inside a rotted mouth, that shredded note of grief. Excuse the inexcusable in me, the wildfire-tinted shifting weave, my ankles crammed with fluid, how I grieve in language you can't clutch, a fusible display of doubled negatives I spew whenever someone says my son is gone, and then goes on to pile the blame upon my son for being gone. Or maybe you believe the bloody mess is rightfully traced right back to me, because I birthed the thug who they say flashed his wallet, copped a drug, and watched him as he begged to be erased. So many ways he waltzed into the scope of any gun, became the target to be taken down. He stood upright, he grew too fast, he looked like someone peddling dope. He tussled, laughing, with his kid, or rolled a joint, or asked his girl to braid his hair while sitting on the stoop, or dared to glare when someone spat. He fought the strangling hold around his throat, or maybe looked the same as someone else, or sat inside his car or someone else's car, or left ajar a door he should have closed, or played a game of hoops to clear his head, or didn't raise his hands, or raised his hands, or didn't stop, or did, or when he instructed failed to drop the wrench, the rock, the branch. He set ablaze a pile of trash, abandoned car, a store, or crashed his body through a window where a TV beckoned. Or he wasn't there, although he said he'd be, or there before he should have been, or on his way to work, or coming home not walking like he should, not walking down the street he usually would, or someone heard him sing, a scary quirk of memory, or, wired to his drays, he bopped or crooned a lyric that was blue out loud so what he sang offended you. He uttered some unutterable phrase. When they asked if he would, he dared decline. When they barked, "Boy, you should," he muttered no, or upped the volume on his radio. He somehow felt entitled to his spine. He fumbled in his pocket for some change, or jumped the A-train turnstile on a dare. He mumbled like his wits were not all there, or tittered in a way you thought was strange. He wrecked his Chevy, waved for help. He called the 9, the 1. He weighed it wrong. He didn't believe. They said he didn't belong. He coughed, collapsed. He looked away. He brawled with brothers, sisters, daddy's wife. He waved a toy above his head, or lost his place in line. He laughed out loud. He couldn't retrace his steps. He drooped his pants. He misbehaved. He turned his back, or whirled around, or stood up straight, or hunkered down, or jumped or ducked behind a crate and threatened to destruct. He wandered into someone else's hood in colors that he couldn't then explain. He pranced, he twerked, he sold a bootleg cig. He stopped and turned around when you yelled "nig." Or he swung his dreads. He dared complain. He signed a form. He made a sign. He marched against or marched because. He thrust his fist into or through the air. He woke up pissed and smoked a blunt, or missed the train, or arched his brow when someone said, "You good?" He took a turn, or took a break, or took a leak. He threatened everyone with his physique. He looked like someone looking like a crook. He hawked and spat. He begged for change. He blew a harp. He blew through lights. He blew his chance. A victim, yet again, of circumstance. He had a point. He had a point of view. He was too wide, too wrong, too thick, too black, too dull, too blade, too quick, too much of those. Too nose to nose, too quick to come to blows, too odd, too apt to cause a heart attack. He flared his nostrils, moved too much. He fled without an explanation, or he stole, he swiped, he snatched, he nabbed. Out of control, he raised a fist. He tripped a wire. He sped away. He shot out on his bike. He shot himself while handcuffed to a pole, or hung himself while hanging from a tree, or wrung his neck although his hands were tied, or thought too much, or used big words, or filed a case, or lived too big too long, as if he thought that he was grown or white or free, or fought and then forgot to hide his naked face. He stepped inside, or out, or through, or down. He yelled, or jumped, or knelt, or spun, or hissed. He crossed the street, or rang a bell, or missed the bus that could have gotten him out of town. He looked too much the beast, the savage threat, insisting that he didn't do the thing he did, or denying that he'd hidden what he hid. I want you to believe his pleading, yet you see he came from me. Me, the screecher, my English twisted wrong, always wailing about, he gone, and pulling Jesus out of every bag. The cool and winking eye of Channel 5 loves all my grieving thrust. Each Lord have mercy on my baby soul, the Reverend Sharpton's hollow heart of gold. But then the starving cameras readjust my howls until it's not my son who's dead, but something feral, rimmed in leek, a threat to shrubbery and Sundays. While he's wet and seeping into street, they frame his head and mine inside a single shot and ask my nappy hair and bulging eyes just what I think. I keen, implode on cue. They cut the camera back to frame his blooded mask and splay. You don't remember what I say or hear his name, but you are borderline obsessed with my collapse, my crumpled wine and holy ghosted flail, the matinee of murder. You're entertained until you aren't. And then I'm just an open maw, a blur and tongue. You must reserve your awe for pithier displays of overkill. No blackish bruiser, breathless, dripping bile. No spittle-spewing mama bellowing, my boy, my boy, my boy. No anything to kink your day. I disappear. And while I'm relegated to an anecdote on way to nothing, all that you recall is animal, my stink and caterwaul, my son, a tiring wire around my throat. That's my son collapsed there, My son crumpled there, my son lying there, my son positioned there, my son repositioned there, my son as exhibit A there, my son dumped over there, my son hidden there, my son colored blue there, my son dangling there, my son caged there, my son on the gurney there, my son locked down there, my son hanging there, my son bleeding out there, my son growing frigid there, my son deposited there, my son inside the chalk there, my son being bagged there, my son on the slab there, my son crushed there, my son rearranged there, my son crumbled in the door. There's my son's left eye over there, my son as exhibit B there, my son behind the wheel there, my son beneath the wheel there, my son down the block in front of his kids, just inside the barber shop, face down in the street for 14,400 seconds, outside the bodega, inside the bodega, in the alley, behind the bodega, on the videotape, a block from home, just leaving home, at home, posed to look thuggish, posed to look more animal, posed as kill, posed as prey, posed as conquest, posed as solution. That's my son not being alive anymore there. That's my son just below the surface of the world there. Kajim Powell, 25, St. Louis, Missouri. Powell was accused of shoplifting energy drinks. Cops said he approached holding a knife in an overhand grip. They shot him dead 15 seconds after they arrived. Video shows that Powell's empty hands were at his sides. I am the mother of the darkest magicians. Their 1,000 limbs flash with the snap of the overseer's whip, misting in and out of your sight line. They are behind and in front of you, charging at you and whistling on a side street 3 blocks away. If he's not there, he will be. If he hasn't, he is about to. If a knife's not in his hands, it's in his hand. If his hands are up, his hands aren't up. If he's screaming, "Don't shoot," he's clearly saying, "Please, help me fall down." Remain Brisbane, 34, Phoenix, Arizona. The unarmed black father of 4 was shot to death when a police officer apparently mistook his bottle of pills for a gun. I am the mother of mistake. Everywhere I turn, my children are being renamed. All he was snarl for a second unbridled, his 10 fingers thick and dark as the throats of guns. Light always had a way of disappearing in his huge hands. Forgive him, he had spent his whole black life reaching. Nothing good was ever there. Nothing good ever reached back. The pills were for pain. Tamir Rice, 12, Cleveland, Ohio. Officer Tim Lohman shot and killed the boy who was holding a BB gun seconds after spotting him at a park. It has been decided that he was responsible for his own death. I'm a mother now, but I was 12 once, 12 and skipping and scalloped socks and twirling and unkilled. We had baby silver pistols that startled and popped sparks. We had plastic handcuffs and air-hard balls we threw at each other, aiming for the gut, the head. We learned to dodge what was born to break us. We made bullet sounds with our mouths. We screeched with glee, murdering ourselves over and over. Like Tom, that cartoon cat, we fell down, got up, fell down, got up. I see now that the getting up was wrong, a paragraph never meant to be part of the story. I bended for so long over my boy's little body, praying him into cartoon. His sister, handcuffed in the back of a cruiser, screamed goodbye. She screeched like a feral cat. I'm going to skip some because it's late. Okay. Jonathan Farrell, 24, Bradford Farms, North Carolina. After being involved in a traffic accident, Farrell knocked on the door of a nearby house for help. The woman inside called the police. They arrived and shot him 10 times. My son said, "I just had an accident. I need to use the phone." She said, "You're black." My son said, "It'll only take a minute. I need to call the police." She heard, "Call the police." My son said, I know it's late, but I just had an accident." She said, 911. He said, "Okay then, you'll call 911? She said, "You're black." The police said, Is he black? She said, he's black. When the gun arrived, it said, I just had an accident. The gun 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 said, I just had an accident. John Gear bled to death after being shot in his own doorway by a Fairfax County police officer on August 29, 2013. Gear had been standing unarmed with his hands on the top of his doorframe, speaking with police officers for 50 minutes before one of them inexplicably fired one shot into his chest. He was not a man. He was a man, not a battlefield. His body was not at war with you. They were men, not battlefields. Their bodies were not at war with you. Boys, their battlefields are on the other side of the world from your war. They are my sons, my soldiers. But you own the battlefield. They are my battlefields, not sons. You must rid your body of their wars. I am the mother of wars, giving birth and birth and birth on the battlefield. I am stooped and accidental saint, voodoo mama, the source of dark hands behind bent backs. I populate your world with these obstructions, these dangerous assumptions, these ogres flaunting white chalk. How foolish to celebrate the day these perps slipped from my womb. I have stumped upon my anger. I have stopped crying. I will give them back to you, their heads once again slipping with blood. I give them back to you as they were in their very first day, one by one by one, gasping, their eyes stunned open. I will whisper to them, fall down, and I will hold them down. I give them back so that they may be born again unto you and away from me, as they were when they got here, clawing for their breath, but questioning their right to breathe. Thank you very much.